We welcome you to a special edition of your favorite current affairs show, The Point of View. Tonight is a special program which we're bringing to you from the sidelines of the just ended Mining in Motion Summit, hosted here in Ghana under the distinguished patronage of the Otumfuo himself, the Asantehene, with the President of the Republic, John Mahama, being in attendance. We bring you 4 critical interview conversations on 4 essential issues. In the first part, we'll be talking to Sami Gyamfi, who is the Chief Executive of the Ghana Gold Board. He spoke about the critical role the Gold Board was playing in Ghana's economic transformation. When we're done that, there are other interviews lined up. Stay with us.
Do you want a healthy smile?
Considering oral surgery? Hi, I'm Tanya from Bethel Dental Clinic, Ghana. Whether you need a routine extraction or a complex dental implant procedure, you want a dental team that provides compassionate care with superior outcomes. A thorough diagnosis is the first step, which involves dental x-rays to assess your condition. This ensures that you're fully informed and comfortable with the plan you choose. Understanding what to expect during the recovery period is also important. By following these steps, you'll be well prepared to recover smoothly and avoid complications. Learn more about surgical services and schedule your consultation today. Bethel Dental Clinic, the smile starts here.
Healthy smile. In a fast-growing urban environment like Accra, safety is as important as the air that we breathe. Hear the real stories from those who now feel safe like never before with Response One.
Hello Ghana, I'm Tommy Ananforson. Our homes are our sanctuary. But safety is not all about locks, fences, and cameras. This is where Response One comes in. Their advanced monitored alarm system just doesn't record crime, it prevents it. In moments of danger, Response One's 24/7 monitoring ensures immediate help. With their theft protection guarantee, this is true peace of mind. I trust Response One to keep my family safe. You should too. Visit responseoneghana.com or call 0302 Secure 1.
Response One. Stay connected, stay protected.
So thank you so much. I think there are a couple of things that we want you to clarify. First, it seems as if, as President Mahama said, the Gold Board is central to his mining policy. But it looks like it was very quick, because from the day you were named to the consultations you did to Parliament passing the Gold Board Act, it was pretty fast. Possibly one of the quickest setting up of institutions and passage of laws. Talk to us about that process. Did you truncate it, or was it because of the interest? Because you did this in less than 3 months, if I'm not wrong. So talk me through that process quickly.
Well, thank you very much, Bernard. For me as a person, the call by the President and the task given us to establish the Ghana Gold Board was an urgent task. Because the President made it clear right from the outset that the Gold Board was central to his economic revitalization agenda. As you may be aware, Ghana in recent time has gone through severe economic crisis that has affected the country's, traditional sources of forex earnings. And so we had to think outside the box and work with the central bank to explore local opportunities. And one of that is the Gold for Forex program of the Bank of Ghana. And we knew that through the Gold Board, we could ramp up gold purchases and exports, and for that matter, and accelerate foreign reserve accumulation to support our national currency and the economy as a whole. So we didn't sleep. We worked with various stakeholders, the media, civil society organizations, Nananom, small-scale miners across the country, the traders, and all stakeholders to develop what some have said is one of the best, laws we have as a country, the Gold Board Act 2025, Act 1140. So the speed with which the act was passed was as a result of the urgency with which we approached the work, and the fact that we allowed stakeholders to own the process. And so you realize that we didn't encounter any pushbacks from any stakeholders, because right from the get-go, they were involved in the process. They bought into the objects of the Gold Board and the necessity for same, and they supported us. Parliament also did what was expected of them. And so that is why today we have the Gold Board established.
Listening to you today, you said some pretty serious things you would do to sanitize the sector. You gave deadlines, and that by September you would do certain things. You'd want to eliminate smuggling. How did you convince all these stakeholders, some of whom may not mean well, to agree that the Gold Board was good for them?
Well, Bernard, I think that any patriotic, Ghanaian and any reasonable human being who has lived the disparity between our country's huge, prospect relative to our rich mineral deposits vis-a-vis our actual, reality, would agree that something had to be done. For long, we've been one of the leading producers of gold in Africa. But we struggle to get simple forex to support our currency. Why? Because the gold is produced mostly through illegal means. That is for the ASM sector. And then you have illegal unlicensed entities who are not regulated by any central government agencies buying the gold and smuggling the chunk of the gold through Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, to Dubai, India, and so on and so forth. So that is what has been going on. The gold we are getting today didn't fall from the skies. And it is not because we've seen any significant acceleration in mining. This gold has always been here, but we've been losing this gold to smuggling. And when gold is smuggled, the forex doesn't come back. The state is deprived of the much-needed revenue for development. And so all the patriotic, Ghanaians we engage and the various civil society organizations saw Gold Board as an imperative, an urgent imperative to stop this mess and ensure that we have one central agency, okay, unlike the previous situation where we had multiple state agencies buying gold with no one regulating the trading of gold and, smugglers taking advantage of that chaotic situation. We now have a central agency streamlining and structuring gold trading, licensing all players involved in the trade, and ensuring that everybody adhere to one common code of conduct on responsible sourcing, legal exports, and so on. And this ensures that we are able to get the forex associated with the gold we buy and the revenue that we desperately need for this.
So you're sure that the fact that for the first time small-scale mining exports have surpassed large-scale is not because of enhanced production on the small-scale side. It's just because of the harvesting of the proceeds that the Gold Board brings. Because I was going to ask a question if the latter were true or the former were true. Because a lot of people say, if a lot of your gold is produced by small-scale people, and that trend continues, the large-scale mines have bigger investments, they pay lots of taxes, they generally adhere to better standards, traceability is much easier. And so if the trend of more of your gold coming from small scale increases, then if they are not properly regulated, you're going to have a jungle out there. So I just want you to re-emphasize the point. You're saying it's not that we have produced more small scale gold. It's just that the export proceeds have been harvested by the Gold Board, correct?
That's correct. We are just plugging the loopholes. We are intensifying the fight against smuggling. And we are mopping up the gold which is being produced by the ASM sector already, but which we're losing to, smuggling. That is what we have done. And we have succeeded in doing this because of the effective aggregation system we have deployed across the country. Because hitherto, there was no such system. Miners had to travel long distances before they could sell their gold. And if you make it difficult for miners to sell their gold, then they will give the gold to whoever gives them money, whether or not they are licensed or whether or not they are smugglers. Also, the Bank of Ghana has increased its capital injections for its gold purchase program. And that has enhanced our capacity to be able to mop up, all gold produced by the small scale, sector. And bear in mind, we are even yet to draw down on our budget allocation of CD equivalent to $79 million. When we do that sometime this month of June, we will be in a better position to even mop up more gold for the country. Yeah.
History and other sectors teach us that smuggling responds to economic incentives, whether it's alcohol or cocoa or even gold. It's the price. So, yes, regulation is brilliant. So I think the question for the gold board is, what price do you offer these gold sellers? Are you going to keep doing market price? Because if I can get my gold bought by some guy somewhere else at a better price. Indeed, this morning, we had to announce that a new cocoa price will be announced in August. So clearly, the smuggling issue is an economic incentive issue. Is the gold board saying that going forward, you're going to offer a market price that disincentivizes smuggling, or are you just going to use police people to catch them at the borders?
Well, we're already doing that in conjunction with the Bank of Ghana. Our pricing is very fair and transparent. Every day we publish the local price of gold, and it is pegged to the world market. And it is a very fluid system. We keep updating it as and when the world market price changes significantly. One other thing that has helped is a decision by the president to scrap the 1.5% withholding tax on dowry. In the 2025 budget statement read sometime in March. The scrapping of that tax has helped the fight against smuggling, because that tax, we believe, was a major incentive for smuggling. So that is one. Our fair and transparent pricing system has also helped. And more importantly, the effective aggregation networks we have in all mining regions and towns, where the gold board is now closer to the miner, has helped us to mop up all this. And no matter what you do, you need to strengthen enforcement and punishment for those who go against the law to serve as a deterrence. And that is what we have done. Those who were arrested for engaging in illegal gold purchases and smuggling before the 30th April ultimatum have been deported to their countries. But anyone arrested for engaging in illegal gold purchasing or smuggling after the 30th April deadline is not going to be deported. We are going to prosecute them and secure conviction so that the deterrence factor is there, for us to curb this menace once and for all.
I have two questions before I open the floor. And the gold board is being presented, in some people's view, as the silver bullet. Pardon the silver gold, right? Silver bullet for the sanitizing of the mining sector, and also increasing our revenues. Aren't you putting too much pressure on yourself? So, example again, the Ghana CD is appreciating very rapidly. We know there are multiple reasons for this, including the Gold for Reserve program and the rest of it. Some of the presidents of US's trade policies have also made people move into commodities away from the US dollar, in addition to the budget that was read. But the narrative suggests that it's the gold board, stupid. That's what's making it happen. Aren't you putting too much pressure on yourself? Gold prices will not keep rising forever. There are other factors in this whole equation. So this is a new organization. Do you feel there's need to pull back a bit to say, look, we're doing great, but this is not just the gold board?
Of course, it's not just the gold board. Okay. Like you rightly said, it's a combination of many factors. But the fact is that the gold board is playing the leading role. And we don't see that as putting pressure on ourselves. We just see that as signifying the enormity of the responsibility we have been entrusted with, and working together with stakeholders in Ghana and partners across the globe, we know that we'll be able to live up to the task we've been entrusted with. And we're counting on the support, like I said, of the World Bank, the OECD, LBMA, to support these sustainability initiatives. because we need to move away from the talk and now begin to take decisive actions on the ground. Small-scale miners are ready for formalization. They are ready to be trained. They are ready to learn new sustainable mining and, recovery optimization techniques to improve their output and so on. And it behoves on leadership to take these necessary steps. The Gold Board has been set up for this main purpose, and with the support of stakeholders I mentioned, I know that we'll be able to transform the ASM sector and also support the large-scale sector, because most of the large-scale mining companies will tell you that interferences from small-scale miners has been a major challenge for them. And if we can streamline the ASM sector, even large-scale mining will benefit from that. And let me say that for large-scale mining companies, we don't intend to disrupt or destabilize, the market this year. Already you know that about 7 of them are selling 20% of their bullion to the Bank of Ghana for our gold, for our reserves. We've secured mutual agreement with 9 other mining, large-scale mining firms to also sell 20% of their doré to the Gold Board locally, which will go into our reserve program. Aside that, we don't intend to disrupt the market. And we are even ready to partner with them to see how they can maximize production, because apart from the Anglo-Gould's and the Newmonts, most of the large-scale mining companies are producers below optimum levels, and we need to improve that.
Thank you.
After a long flight, Safari Homes gives you the peace to unwind. A short drive from the airport, convenient for all. For nature lovers, Safari Valley Resort is a hidden gem, surrounded by lush greenery and luxury amenities. A place where you can truly escape. Now, for water adventure, Aqua Safari Resort has it all. Jet skis, canoe rides, kayaking, and a visit to the estuary. And for more excitement, Safari Eco Park is the perfect place to get closer to some amazing animals.
Visit Safari World in Ghana, together bringing you closer to nature.
Where to get polytank?
Oh, and you're right.
Go straight.
No, I want to left, right.
And that's right. Ghana na ye wono. So when you do more, and you're that now. Who knows? I beg, now here, me pe polytank at all. And you just many of you to be able to never do. Or food to be enjoy your crowd.
Akuya bulambo kotoman. Emua.
Like they take you by so. Go to the distributor and you give the original polytank. You hear the sound?
Polytank. Papananka Sankasa. A member who we are singing now, at risk of prostate enlargement. We a member or her. 20 ebitimi prostate cancer. 5 bitimi afamu nadia obefamu. Actually, this is not my fault. And to wada, entina midi menichi Executive Prostate Center.
Executive Prostate Center is a unique medical center where we harmonize in-depth traditional medicine with cutting-edge science and technology to cure, to treat, and to prevent diseases like prostate enlargement, prostate cancer.
Executive Prostate Center. Madame home. Facilities no any professional medical care.
Sisi a bibia clear system no. Ye nro ne so de natural. Into be koso afama ye.
Executive Prostate Center. My cured.
Welcome back. This is still the Point of View special edition, coming to you from the sidelines of Mining in Motion Summit held in Accra under the patronage of the Otumfuo. We just heard from Sami Jemfi speaking about the role of the Gold Board in Ghana's economic transformation. I sat down with him in front of conference participants with that interview. I had later on sat down with the Chief Sustainability and Corporate Affairs Officer
of Anglo Gold Ashanti, Stuart Bailey, and he spoke about sustainable mining and local growth. So we are here at the sidelines of Mining in Motion happening in Accra, Ghana. The lead sponsor, Anglo Gold Ashanti. I have the Chief Sustainability and Corporate Affairs Officer, Stuart Bailey, who gave a rather resounding presentation earlier today for his reflections on what's gone on so far and what the key issues are for mining globally. Stuart, great to have you. Thanks.
Thank you, Billy.
How proud does AGA feel about being the lead sponsor for this event?
I think this is an important event for us, and we're very happy to be associated with it. Of course, this was the vision of His Majesty, the Asantehene, who really wanted to convene stakeholders from not only across Ghana, but across the world, really, to come into the global south, into Accra, to talk about the burning issues of the day that are affecting mining companies across the continent. As Africa's largest gold producer, and obviously a company that carries the Ashanti name, puts a unique burden on us, which we're very happy to carry, very happy to be associated with the conference.
What, in your view, are the key issues that this conference ought to be addressing?
Look, I think that what's clear is that what's become front and center at the conference is the issue of artisanal small-scale mining, the regularization and professionalization of ASM, but also looking at illegal mining and what both the government and the industry can do about that. It's been really gratifying from our perspective to see the very open and strong stance that the government has taken on the issue, and we're obviously encouraged and very happy to be part of that conversation.
How does the fact that small-scale mining has gotten more sophisticated, that's one, and the fact that criminal gangs are getting involved, how does that complicate the effort to regularize it?
What we realize is that Ghana was not called the Gold Coast for nothing, is that this has really been the cradle of gold mining on the continent for the longest time, and artisanal and small-scale mining existed here for hundreds of years, and it will likely for hundreds of years more. That's a good starting point. What has happened, however, is that you've seen gold prices go up very, very strongly over the last 10 years. We all know it. We see the gold price on the TV every night at the end of the news broadcast. Everybody knows what the price is. And that really has attracted a lot of people to this industry. And what you've seen, you know it when you're driving around anywhere, pretty much in any country on the continent where there has traditionally been gold mining, there is a lot more informal mining. Some of that informal mining has become mechanized. I think the minister spoke very openly about the number of big excavators and other yellow equipment that is coming into Ghana, and we see it. We think that that sort of mechanization of something that was traditionally artisanal or done with picks and shovels obviously has implications for the industry, it has implications for the environment, it has implications for the long-term social, environmental and health benefits for people who live around those sites.
The figure we usually agree on is that 20% of gold output is from these irregular sources. Some people think it could be more. How important is it to get clarity on the real state of play of the volume and the value of illegally sourced, particularly artisanal small-scale mining, to give us a chance of dealing with it in a more holistic way?
As my boss says, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And so I think getting accurate and good data is vitally important. And again, the strength of the institutions here in Ghana were, I think, there for all to see over the last couple of days. The CEO of the Minerals Commission, Martin Ayisi, spoke about the numbers for January to April of this year, where just over 50% of the gold produced in Ghana that was able to be recorded was from artisanal small-scale mining sources. You heard the excellent presentation from the CEO of the Gold Board after that, talking about how that's not necessarily a reflection of more mining, but really saying that it's due to government's efforts to formalize gold purchases, which we think is a great innovation here, and how they're starting to capture and bring more of those ounces into the regulatory or into the official net. We think what that's going to do is allow government to see where the gold is coming from, It's going to allow for, I think, more effective formalization initiatives, and that in itself is going to start to help us look at and manage better the sort of more difficult consequences of unchecked artisanal mining.
One of the speakers said artisanal mining of the illegal kind is everywhere, from Alaska to Australia, so it's not a Ghana problem. But the fact that in Ghana we see more of our exports now being from the artisanal side, does that worry you as CSO of probably the world's most famous large-scale mining company? Is that, for example, a concern that if the trend of production from small-scale miners goes up, your business model could mean lower output in the next decade or two? Is it a concern?
Look, I think that we've long recognized the fact that the incentive for people to get involved in this industry is there when the price goes higher. This is an activity that really dwarfs alternatives available to most people. So it's not surprising to see more people involved. I think that we're very confident in our business model. Our business model rests on a few key things. Responsible extraction of a scarce natural resource. We are custodians of that natural resource for the countries that we operate in. We need to make sure that benefit from the ounces that we produce accrues, of course, to our shareholders, but also to the government of Ghana, to the people of Obuasi and the people in Ghana at large. Now, we have very clear ways of doing that. You know, we have some significant public health interventions, infrastructure projects, education projects, and business development projects. We pour a lot of money, a lot of resources into that. Equally, we're a large taxpayer in Ghana, and as the price goes up, as profitability goes up, we hope to pay more tax. That is an important thing for us. So we think that that is important. We know that the government recognizes the importance of our business model, and at the same time, we can't turn a blind eye to the fact that we have a very large traditional business that is growing at a rapid rate, and that we need to help as part of a broader stakeholder group to formalize and to professionalize that part of the industry. There's no question. What we're encouraged by is the fact that government, certainly from our perspective, seems to have the same view on that. And we heard those presentations this week, which were very powerful, diagnosed the issues very carefully, and we will avail ourselves to assist in that process.
Being a global company in many parts of the world, any lessons or examples to share from particularly South America, for we in Africa, around ways of tracing and also tracking these flows? Because I know you have mines in Brazil, in Colombia as well, so you're a global company. Any ideas to share? What should, of course, the Gold Board is a great idea from Ghana, so they can learn from us, but what can we also learn from other markets in how they're dealing with this?
I think in many ways Africa is an innovator on this, and we should be proud of that. As you pointed out, the Gold Board, similar innovations in Tanzania, I think really make sure that the predatory behavior from middlemen in this industry, whether it be people who are buying gold, people who are financing small-scale mining, at sort of loan shark type interest rates, those people effectively start to get marginalized by the introduction of the Gold Board. And so we're very supportive of that generally. As we look around the world, we see that tracing and provenance of gold is something that the industry itself is seized by the importance of. So along with 8 other senior members of the World Gold Council, what we're looking at is technology, blockchain technology, and others to make sure that we can trace mined gold from our mines, from the mine all the way to the customer. And what that will do is give the customer an assurance that the ounce of gold that they're buying is not only being responsibly mined, but in effect has helped benefits accrue to a very broad base of stakeholders. And we think whether they be financial or retail consumers of gold are interested in that kind of narrative, that is based in fact. And that's something that we're busy with. The technology is increasingly available, and that technology ultimately should also be available to small-scale miners that follow the rules as well.
Just finally, the minerals chamber, the mining chamber in Ghana, which has the private large-scale mining companies, have been talking a lot about value chain development. They feel that one long-term way of getting communities involved is to expand the value chain so that value addition in supply, sourcing, and all of those hits communities in a more sustainable way, beyond the very positive things around building schools and hospitals and doing all these malaria programs. Can you comment a bit about that as one way of getting local communities to appreciate the long-term value of mining? Because what tends to happen is a lot of people see the mining companies as they're coming to exploit our resource and they're leaving. But if we can develop, whether it's refinery on the up end or basically sourcing from the back end, there's a way in which it ceases to be an enclave economy. Explain that to our listeners and how that could also help get communities to even stop this type of thing and buy into the real value addition of mining.
We totally endorse the view that you need shared benefit from the development of this resource. Without that, you jeopardize your entire license to operate. So just to be clear, that is something we totally support. It's also important to say that we've supported this idea for a long time. Now, we could debate a long time about the importance and ultimately the amount of benefit that can be generated from downstream activities like refining. The gold that we produce here is already refined to almost full purity, and we've been doing that here for a long time. The real opportunity, I think, as you allude to, exists in the upstream portion of the business, and that starts through the value chain. That is a ton of goods and services. If you look at our capital budget, currently if you looked at a cost of $1,500 an ounce and, let's say 500,000 ounces produced in Ghana, these are very rough numbers, you can see that the numbers run into billions that are ultimately spent to support two mines like Iduapriem and Obuasi here in Ghana. It's important that we make sure that our local communities not only are seen to benefit, but see tangible benefit from those mines. So that starts with employment. It starts with making sure that wherever possible, that we are allowing local companies to provide those goods and services that we need to continue. In many ways, we've been leaders in that, in that upstream portion of value sharing, whether it be through the joint ventures that we have on our underground mining contract, a first for Ghana, but there are many others through, whether it be procurement and other drilling contracts and so forth. So, which is a long way of really supporting your notion that if we are going to be here for the long term, and we certainly are, we've been here for decades and we'll be here for decades more, is that we need to be working with our partners in Ghana, and that is fully what we intend.
Finally, let's end where we started. These are great times to be talking mining in Africa, particularly Ghana. There's a new government. Gold is doing well globally, and it seems to be helping stabilize the economy as well. How much of a bounce can the industry get from this? Asantene is here, the president is here, everybody who matters in mining on the continent is here. What kind of opportunity does it offer the industry to reset itself, to tackle the challenges you elaborated earlier?
We should be clear that having that sort of support from the very highest levels of government for such a key industry that provides, in the double-digit contribution to the GDP of the country is vitally important. I think we took encouragement from a shared message that foreign investment into Ghana is very much welcome, and we feel that here in Ghana. Obviously that's key if you're going to be attracting the sort of multi-billion-dollar investments that really move the dial in any economy. The gold price is massively supportive, $3,400 an ounce. These are bonanza days, there's no doubt. And again, you're seeing that in the proliferation of small-scale mining. You're seeing that in the profits of large-scale mining. There's no question about it. We need to make sure that we're being prudent at this time, that we're not making capital allocation decisions that are going to turn out to be, sort of potentially foolhardy at lower gold prices. And that's where we are at the moment. It's just making sure that we're careful, we continue to mind the business, we continue to develop our ore bodies in a responsible and respectful way, and that we're making sure that benefits accrue to our stakeholders. That's the game for us. If we can make strong profits that result in higher taxes in the end of the day, we're very happy to do that. But we're less obsessed about today, more obsessed about what happens 10 years from now.
That's a great place to end. Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you, Bernard.
We've been talking to the Chief Sustainability and Corporate Affairs Officer for Anglo Gold Ashanti Global at the sidelines of Mining in Motion. They are the lead sponsors, and we've been discussing some of the key topics: artisanal and small-scale mining and how to deal with some of its challenges. We'll be right back with more. This is a special conversation at the sidelines of Mining in Motion in Accra, Ghana. Stay with us. Still at the Mining in Motion Summit in Accra, my next guest, as I sat down at the Mining in Motion Summit, is the Chief Executive Officer of the Africa Mining Strategy Group. This is a critical Pan-African body that is trying to reimagine the mining sector. My guest, His Excellency Moses Ngadu, spoke about a new mining vision for Africa on 5 key pillars. We sat down to deliberate on those. We're still here at the sidelines of Mining in Motion happening in Accra, Ghana, and we're very privileged to be talking to His Excellency Moses Michael Ngadu, who's the Secretary General for the Africa Minerals Strategy Group. Gave a fantastic speech to open day 2, outlining 5 key priorities for the mining sector on the continent. Fascinating speech there. But let's talk about the Africa Minerals Strategy Group. What organization is that, Your Excellency? Talk to us about that first.
Thank you. So last year in January, the African countries were organizing that there is a latest scramble for African minerals.
Yes.
But also the urgent need for us to protect our strategic interests as a continent and take advantage of this new wave that's coming at us, what we are calling the second chance. The ministers responsible for minerals and mining established the Africa Minerals Strategy Group as an intergovernmental continental specialized agency for critical minerals development.
Wow.
Our primary purpose is to facilitate international cooperation in the mining and mineral sector within the African countries, but also foster collaboration with the wider world on a win-win mutual benefit for us to unlock the vast potential of our minerals for the prosperity of the continent. Interestingly, when you look at our strategic goal, it is about the promotion of exploration, extraction, production, but local beneficiation and commercialization to ensure that we have a sustainable, transparent and secure supply of minerals while protecting the environment and improving the quality of life of our people. When we do this, we should be able to spur economic transformation and prosperity of our continent, while at the same time supporting the global energy transition. So it really, our mandate is around how do we unlock the vast mineral potential as a continent? How do we change the narrative? Because we know that this sector is capital intensive, this sector is sort of affected by the burdens of the past. Our communities where the minerals come from are not benefiting. We have a pit to port model. In the industry, everybody just wants to carry even the soil. They want to take it up, but we're really losing out on the opportunities of spurring, not just job creation, but industrialization. When this building is made of cement, cement is a mineral. There's so much that we could be able to do as a continent, and our mandate is to be that common voice, driving a singular agenda and being able to negotiate better.
Is it possible to have a singular agenda for a continent as diverse as Africa, and also for minerals as diverse as traditional things like gold, bauxite, copper, to say rare earth metals like lithium and that type of thing? Because we're seeing new forms of minerals emerging. Are the issues cost-cutting?
Fortunately for us, we are bound by both pain, and that is one, and the need for us to benefit from these minerals. And so we have already cross-cutting issues.
Right.
One cross-cutting issue is collaboration. Everybody has recognized that we are stronger together, more respected when we work together, because the geopolitical environment we live in is that when you go alone, you'll never be able to succeed. The second thing that brings us together is mineral value addition. This is a sort of an overriding theme that is happening. Our governments have realized that we cannot benefit from our minerals when we're not adding value locally. So you're having a lot of countries, and we've been supporting them, sort of banning export of raw materials.
Yes.
And creating policies that are advancing that. So we already have common ground that drives us together, because we have a young population that needs jobs. We create jobs through adding value addition. So that's already. The third area is technology. You know, because we know that mining by its nature, or extractive industry, has a destructive component to the environment. And we cannot hand over a destructed continent to the next generation. We received something that was different, but we have the opportunity of leveraging technology to reduce that environmental footprint. And the last area for us is inclusivity, the inclusion. And it begins with us mapping the value chain. Who is involved at which part? No single part is small in this. So I can with all certainty say what drove us to come together as a continent to address the urgent need was an understanding that we have more commonalities than what divides us. But when it also comes to the various minerals, is that the first step we have defined and we're building consensus on is critical minerals for who? Who defined what is critical minerals? And in Africa, yes, we have your lithium, we have your graphite, we have all this, but our people are probably not going to drive your electric cars by then. What is concerning for us is food security. So in Africa, in most countries, the governments are telling us phosphate is a critical mineral.
Fertilizer.
That leads us to fertilizer. They're telling us we need to power. Coal is a critical mineral. We're being told we are shifting from the renewables, from fossil fuels to renewables. My country, Uganda, just discovered the oil recently. We are planning to exploit it, but we are being told, no, don't touch it. Somebody else has used it to develop their countries. We see the Gulf, leapfrogging, but we are told don't touch. But this is a trick about it. You see, our people cut forests to cook. Forget about mineral-rich, exploitation, illegal exploitation. But they need firewood to be able to cook. So if I give them gas, cooking gas, then they will not cut the forests. But to get cooking gas, you require to exploit the oil, because it's a byproduct of your crude oil. So if you say, do not exploit the oil, that means you're telling me, cut more forests. So getting that nexus right. So the first step is we are saying critical for who? As Africa, we are defining what is critical minerals for us. Your list, thank you, we shall give you when you need on our terms, but we should also be able to identify. So our duty really is to build consensus, and there's consensus on several things. We have more that unites us than divides us.
You gave us 5 strategies.
Yes.
Before I come there, when I listen to the international narrative on mining, when a country says we're not going to export raw gold or raw minerals, and the government is banning it, the Europeans or Americans will say this is resource nationalism. They have all kinds of interesting terms to discourage that. Are you sure that the African governments that set you up are committed to value addition? Because you're saying all the right things, but a lot of governments, whether it's because of deals they sign or because of pressure from elsewhere, tend to continue the status quo and don't take the hard decisions that will transform our continent. So what's your comment?
For starters, it's sort of like the chicken and egg kind of situation.
Yeah.
You cannot have one without the other when you have. I'm very pleased with our governments because they have now moved from rhetoric to action. These that we're talking about have been put in regulations. So we've supported governments and they've already put these issues into regulations. It's one thing obviously to have a regulation and to implement. What we also realized when we took over and the space, because our mandate is over the minerals and mining sector, in our first assessment is that for some countries this is a lifeline.
Yeah.
Minerals are a lifeline. So they are not coming on board with the implementing the policy, largely has with the diversification of the income that they get into the country. So that's why we are working with the government to make sure that the minerals cease being a lifeline, because then they will give me the opportunity to negotiate better and to be able to champion. The other thing is that they are bound by the collective. See, by joining MSG and signing the charter, you're now bound by our collective decision making. And so I am very happy to report that since last year, we now have 18 member states and 7 are going through the processes. And that means that there is interest. And so we are looking at how else do we finance the continent? How else do we help our countries diversify their income bases? And now we are moving to things like the tokenization. It's one of the 5 pillars.
I'd like to elaborate on this because finance for me, or capital, is the big question. A lot of times we have great ideas on the continent. There isn't enough savings on the continent to generate enough investment to form the capital you need. You alluded to tokenization and you said African minerals should fund the African dream. Can you elaborate on how tokenization cracks the financing question?
I'll talk about that, but I also have another S in the works. So let's start with tokenization. So we have a global decentralized finance markets, what we call digital financial markets. And one of the elements that is within that is what they call real world assets. So a real world asset that backs the digital token, which is then exchangeable should the owner of the digital token choose to liquidate. So this market alone is estimated by 2030 to be $16 trillion. You can put up your real estate, you can put up your land, many things can be tokenized. Minerals are the best of it all. And the beauty about it is you have tokenization at about 3 levels. You can tokenize stocks that you already have or inventory you have. We can issue a token, you put it in a warehouse, your token is issued, and the market and the primary and secondary markets play. You could also tokenize your value. So a government, in most of the large-scale mining projects, government has a stake. So we can take that stake, which is futures, and tokenize that, and that is what is traded. The one that will be the best for Africa is the mineral reserves, because once you prove geologically using certain standards, and we are working with some of the top companies in exploration, such as Excalibur Smart Mapping, you can then be able to prove that you have these reserves. With those reserves, a token trust, a token reserve trust is established, and that proceeds are tokenized, and then people are trading off them. There are people who want to invest, but they don't want to own your gold mine or the problems that come with the gold mine. So what that means that with the tokenization of reserves, we will be able to raise money that countries can use for infrastructure, can use in exchange of the value that has been committed. And that therefore also means the environment won't be destroyed because you no longer need to extract to make money. So the alternative financing mechanisms is where Africa needs to go.
In a wide position, so what's next? Ronaldo.
This could be, and still danger here.
Goal! Goal! In 1924, my grandpa was a champion. 2024, Meso is a champion.
Hey, digital champion. It's about the end.
Digital champion, who can't TV shop online?
Let me help you get what you need from Enterprise now.
It's this simple. I just log into my Enterprise account using the Enterprise Self-Service Portal. Then I just click on this button for their new Advantage Point Loyalty Scheme. Then boom, the fun begins. Wow. Yes, once I start making purchases under any subsidiary, I can now earn a lot of points and redeem it as airtime, Momo, and more.
Hey, customers only.
Even on your birthday,
you earn points.
Yes, even when you like and share on the portal,
you earn points.
Yes.
Purchase an enterprise policy today to enjoy this exclusive offer and start earning rewards. Because nothing you do should be pointless.
Oh, then redeem Momo with your points and send to me.
Hey, Mr. Digital Champion.
Enterprise, your advantage.
Remember who we are singing now. At risk of prostate enlargement. We remember or her 20 ebitiminya prostate cancer. 5 bitimi afamu nadia obefamu.
Actually, this is not my fault.
And to wada, entina midi maniche Executive Prostate Center.
Executive Prostate Center is a unique medical center where we harmonize in-depth traditional medicine with cutting-edge science and technology to cure, to treat, and to prevent diseases like prostate enlargement, prostate cancer.
Executive Prostate Center, Madame Home, facilities no, any professional medical care.
Sisi a bibia clear system ni. Ye nro ne so de natural. Into we koso afama ye.
Executive Prostate Center. My cured.
And of course, we're still here at the Mining in Motion Summit, bringing you some highlights from the second day. We've heard from Sami Jemfi, we heard also from Stuart Bailey and the head of the Africa Mining Strategy Group. My last sit down was with the curator of this fascinating 2-day conference. He happens to be a prince of the Ashanti Kingdom, but also the managing director of AGI in the person of Ohiniba Kwekudua. He spoke about why this conference was important and how it was going to position Ghana as Africa's next mining hub. Massive 2 days of high-level discourse under the distinguished patronage of His Majesty Otumfuo Setutu, who opened us up yesterday. We've had President Mahama as well. I have the curator of this very powerful program, Ohiniba Kwekudua, to give us some insights into how we got here and what next, because Mining in Motion has been pretty big. Ohiniba, thanks for talking to us.
Thank you, Ben.
Wow. I mean, how did we get here? This is massive. Just give me a bit about the vision and how you managed to pull this off.
Well, it started very simply, to put it as such. It was a breakfast conversation that led to the creation of the summit. My father and I were watching TV during breakfast, and there was this segment on the news that came up about some mining practices that were not exactly sustainable. And he looks at me and he's like, I wish we could do something about this thing. And then it led to the start of some reclamation projects that my father and myself have been engaging in. And what we realized was that in the course of raising financing to support these land reclamation projects, there was a common concern amongst anyone, of any well-wisher or anybody who is interested in supporting such a project, and that was around the sustainability and how long-lasting it would be, because they expressed some concerns around, okay, we can reclaim and they would come back, so what makes this different? So we thought about it and we said, look, the conversations around mining now are had in very polarized manners. You have the regulators talking to the miners, then you have the large-scale mining companies on another side, then you have international regulators all the way somewhere else. So we said, okay, why don't we just put these guys in one group? Why don't we merge the international regulators, such as the OECD, the LBMA, the World Gold Council, and then why don't we bring the local regulators, which is the government here, the miners, the artisanal miners, the large-scale miners, the people involved in the sector, NGOs, academia, and let's have a time to brainstorm. And in the end, we ended up coming to the conclusion that...
But what is your background and interest in mining? Because obviously, you ought to have some knowledge in the area to attract this level of participation, correct?
Well, it's because I come from the kingdom of gold, is what one would say in simple terms. The Ashantis have been mining gold for over 400 years. There is a very rich history with the resource. So I would say that it's almost enshrined in our blood. Because of that, we've been able to have meetings and we've been able to meet several phenomenal people, such as some of the people here today. And through that network, we've been able to create and convene such a powerful gathering.
One of the speakers from the Uganda, who's from the Africa Mining Strategy, said his third principle was, and I quote, culture, community, and custodianship. And he spoke about the important role of traditional authority in structuring mining. How critical was it for His Royal Majesty to endorse and to lead this effort, to give the opening address, and to personally say that he supports efforts to make mining more sustainable?
One thing that's very symbolic of our culture is that traditional leaders are viewed almost as father figures. And that is a very significant role that my father takes very seriously, providing that overarching fatherly figure role. He knew that, like I emphasized on my last point, that the conversation is being had here, there, and there. So why don't I, a singular entity that has the power to bring everybody into a room, why don't I do that? That was how he went out of his way to ensure that we would be able to create a very impactful conversation. Regarding what he does as a custodian, my father is very adamant about sustainable mining, about sustainable practices. I can tell you a funny story. If my father is building a house, every time he cuts a tree, he goes home and he's like, that's just how passionate he is about the environment, because he wants to see our communities flourish. He believes a lot in sustainability.
2 points. Finance has been a big issue. We have great ideas, great entrepreneurs, but we've never really cracked the finance thing. A lot of the companies in mining in Africa are multinational companies. South African, British,
American,
Australian,
Canadian.
Is that of concern to Mining in Motion? And is there an effort to create a new domestic capital class to also own some of these large mining companies?
That's a very good question. Local ownership is something that myself I'm very passionate about. I've said it time and again that no matter how much we push for local ownership, unless we're financing our own projects, we will never be able to maximize local ownership. Because you cannot tell somebody to come from his country to finance your operation or to extract resources from here and have everything shared on a 50-50 split. The person who puts the skin in the game is the person who expects the most in return. And I believe it's something that we as Africans really need to look at as to how we're going to be able to generate capital. There's many ways that foreign companies generate capital. Stock exchange, banking institutions. And I think that the world is at a crossroads. I think that things have changed. And I believe that now a lot of internal capital is being generated here. One thing that I would always stress for local companies to do is to spend money on studies. Once you have a strong and robust feasibility study, and you're able to back your project with hardline data, it's very easy to go out to capital markets and raise financing from banks and financial institutions. And I think it's something that more focus needs to be had on supporting our resource extraction with hardline numbers. That would be able to de-risk the projects that we go in for, and we would be able to raise money ourselves. That is one thing that obviously Money in Motion emphasized on. So if you notice, one of the panels was funding models of ASN. And one of the things that we obviously ensured that was how artisanal miners, be it through cooperatives or even if individually, can raise financing themselves through feasibility studies, through access to capital markets. That's why the conversation was being led by EcoBank, StoneX, financing institutions, African Development Bank, as to what they as financing institutions would expect to see from mining companies. So what we want to do is to educate these mining companies and advocate for the support of
Finally, what's your biggest takeaway from here? And what next? Should we expect Mining in Motion 2.0? Will it be in Ghana still?
Definitely. I think that the reason why we're all here today is about minerals, but the star of the show is gold. And without a doubt, Ghana is the capital of gold in Africa. We're the largest producer. And we have arguably the most robust frameworks for gold extraction. So we're definitely going to be keeping Mining in Motion 2.0. So that obviously goes to answer your question. Yes, we're we're already putting plans in place to ensure, and my minister said it on stage as well, the Honorable Amaboa, who I honestly have to give credit to, that this conference, in as much as it was something that we curated ourselves at the palace, he took it really head on, and he became a co-convener with my father, and he was very passionate about it. I have to give him his flowers. He is somebody that inspires me, and I believe should inspire a lot of young Ghanaians out there, because he's been phenomenal in the way he's handled the situation. So yes, it's something that myself, my father, the ministry, we will be looking as to how we can partner with entities like the African Union, the World Bank, World Gold Council, the OECD, the LBMA, to having Mining in Motion as a recurring.
Wow. Mahiniba, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so there you have it. 4 critical interviews from Mining in Motion, putting together various thoughts about reimagining the gold sector in particular for the continent. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.